on that standard form stuff again today, so those, I think in here, most everybody seemed okay, but those people that are confused on it, we're still working on it today. But that access to symmetry, remember that was one of the big deals on standard forms, to see if you can type the equation for it.
Who that I think it is? I think.
We'll see in a minute. All right, Holly's here. Let's see. Change my seating chart for those people who want to move those. Drake is moved out, so I'll erase him. Christian is here, Tyler is here, Destiny is virtual, Hayden is here. Okay, Blake Morrison got moved out. Taylor Miller is virtual, Zach is here. So, we have 7 of us. Okay, let's see here. Got Haley, Christian, and Tyler, so waiting on Zach and Hayden, give me a good answer. I think it would be helpful if I put up there on the board to do it in a private comment. I have some people from the other classes that y'all figured that out. Alright, I'm gonna, obviously want you to know, so I'm gonna do it over there on a dry erase board so the virtual people can't see the answer. Haha, you people don't get to see the answer. But, there was obviously, I think obviously, 2 choices out of your notes for you to look at, and that's, everybody in here did one of those 2, so that's good, at least you didn't come up with something crazy. Hold on, I haven't told you what's right yet. I'm just writing what the 2 choices were, I don't want to give it away to the virtual people. Okay, these are the 2 formulas that we wrote down Tuesday. What do you think this one was called, anybody? Okay, this was standard form of a quadratic. And that's all we've learned about so far. I told you that we're gonna talk about vertex form. I was gonna talk about vertex form today, but when I was grading assignments, we needed to talk about standard form some more first. So we're gonna, vertex form will be next, probably talk about that Monday. So then this is the formula for the axis of symmetry. And I noticed on people's assignments, some people were abbreviating it like that. That's cool if you don't wanna do that. That's cool. Okay, well, I mean, I'm not like mad, because at least I'll do this throughout the day, and I'll get somebody that'll come up with something totally off the wall. So at least everybody was on one of the things we talked about. That's progress. So, good deal.
I just realized you have 3, 4, 5 dry erase boards.
Yeah, normally, and, you know, nothing about 2020 is normal. Normally, these dry erase boards are y'all's, and we'll I'll give you a couple of problems to work, and then I send you, and it's fabulous. I mean, it's not like it's that deep, you know, you think, well, what good does that do? But when you're up there with a partner, and y'all are talking through it and working it, the level that you learn it at, it's amazing, it's so much deeper, but Mr. Withers said I might not wanna do that.
Let's
So,
look at like our own.
We'll see. With y'all, we probably, I mean, I got enough markers back there to give you your own marker, we probably can. But
And
the
there's
rest of my,
5 boards for 5
yeah.
people.
the rest of my classes probably aren't gonna get to do that. Okay, so, I had there it is. I always lose where they ought to make this so I can wear it around my neck.
That'd be cool.
Keep up with it. Alright, so I picked out a few problems for us. So here's the first one. I picked this out this morning. This is just exactly what we were doing Tuesday and what you had on your 4 problems yesterday. On the 4 that you turned in yesterday, I asked you for just 3 things. I asked you for the graph, for the axis of symmetry, and for the vertex. That's all that you had to do. Now, I told you in class, when we do make our graph, I need at least 3 points on there. But the directions on that assignment yesterday didn't say you had to write 3 points. So that's just neither here nor there. So what I want us to do, we actually learned about more than the axis of symmetry and the vertex. We talked about minimums and maximums. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna work through this one together, just to remind you and get some more practice on it. And then I've got on the next page, I've got something I'm gonna have you try. So we'll see how we go. All right, so we're going to, I'll make a little list over here. We're gonna graph this. We're gonna label the axis of symmetry. We're gonna label the vertex. We're gonna tell if it's a min or a max, and what is the min or the max. So we're gonna do everything that we've learned with this here graph. Now, in some other classes, they struggled on where to start. Y'all didn't really have that problem. Y'all were pretty good on it, but anytime you've got a parabola or quadratic in standard form, you always start right here, axis of symmetry. Anytime it's in standard form and it's a quadratic, you're always going to start with the axis of symmetry. So now those virtual people are going to get the answer if they didn't turn in their bell ringer yet, aren't they? So we're going to plug our A and our B in. And y'all were pretty good at figuring out what your A and your B are. A kind of simplified way to say it, your A that goes down here with the 2, your A is how many x squared you have. So there's 3 of those. So usually when I'm first starting, I go ahead and label everything for you. Your B is how many x to the first you have, so we have -6 of those. And for today's stuff, we don't really need the C, but it's the constant, so our C would be 4. So all we're going to do is plug those things into the axis of symmetry formula. So -6 over 2 times 3. What do y'all think about that black board with white writing? Is that good, bad, neither?
I'm
Never-
impartial.
I never had done it before, but a dude at a workshop showed it to me, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Oh, we'll give it a whirl. All right, negative by negative is a positive, so that's taken care of. So this means 6 divided by 6. So we know our axis of symmetry is 1. So check that off. Okay. Now, on the vertex is going to be always the axis of symmetry, but you don't know how high or low. So our vertex is going to be 1 comma something. So, very good. We're going to take this 1 and go plug it in up there to figure out how high or low our vertex is going to be. So we're going to say y equals 3 times 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 4. Alright, so 1 squared is 1, 1 times 3 is 3, 6 times 1 is 6. So 3 minus 6 is -3. -3 plus 4 is 1. Okay, so take that up here and with your vertex, it's at 1, 1. Okay, I'm saving my graph for last. Let's go ahead and talk about the min or the max. Because even without a picture of the graph, we know enough to know it. We know our A is a positive number, which means it's going to open up. So if it opens up, it has a minimum. So we know this one is going to have a minimum. So that means it's not going to go lower than a certain point. The certain point it'll never go lower than is the y of the vertex. Okay? So this has a min, circle that one since I wrote them both up there, at y equals 1. Okay? So we've got everything answered up there that I asked you for except for a picture of the graph. So let me scroll this a little bit so I can try to keep it all on the same page. Whoops, jumping on me. Alright, so our vertex was at over 1, up 1. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my dotted line there. You don't have to draw that dotted line, but it helps me. So, alright, then all I need to do, and we talked about this on our notes on Tuesday, I showed you like an input-output table type deal. You can write that if you want to like that, you don't have to. But all we need to do is pick one other x to plug in. So I'm thinking, since 0 is close, I'm just going to go with 0. And I know I did in some of my classes, I think I did with y'all, talked about how great a 0 is. Did we talk about that? Because anytime you start raising 0 to a power or multiplying something by 0, it's just 0. So if I plug 0 in for these x's, that's gone because that's 0. The mask is giving me bits. That's gone because that's 0. So all that's left if x is 0 is y has to be 4. Very good. So I didn't really even need a calculator or anything. So I'm going to go over 0 and up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I told you when we draw these graphs I need you to have at least 3 points. I've only got 2. What can I do to get my third point? There's several right answers. Good. Easiest thing to do is remember that dotted line means it's a flip line. So you can just flip that point to the other side. If you wanted to, you could plug another number in and solve. You could do that. But it'd be easier to say, well, this point that's right here is just 1 away from the flip line, so I'm just going to go put it 1 away on the other side. Just kind of do some counting like that. So if it's here at 0, 4, that where my marker is would be 1, 4. I go 1 more and put it on 2, 4. Okay, now I've got my vertex right here. Let me get a better angle for my eyes to try to draw a decent parabola. It's hard to draw it with this. That's not too horrible. Alright. Was it any, y'all did pretty good, so I'm not talking to y'all as much, but is it any easier today than it was Tuesday?
Yes.
Good. Good. What about y'all over here, fellas? Good. Alright. Are y'all done? Did y'all get everything you needed there? Because I'm going to actually erase this so I don't have to rewrite the problem next period. I'm lazy that way. Always tell a joke and some people believe it that I'm afraid the smartboard's going to run out of ink, so I don't have to write it over and again. And they're like, really? Where do you get it when it runs out?
You gotta go to the smart ink board. Smart ink.
One time in a different school, I said, oh no, the smartboard's out of ink. Go to the office and tell them to give me some more. And he went. And all this was like, she said, what?
That's what I did to my friend over the summer when he started driving. I told him that I needed blinker fluid.
I've heard that. A lot of people,
And he went
yeah.
to Dollar General looking for something for me.
It'd be funny, asking a worker, where's the blanket fluid? And they just start laughing at you.
Oh, he told me that the woman that was there helped him try to find something.
That's even
So,
better.
it is funny. I was with Landon Clay
Yeah.
and Evan Wallace, and we were over at Landon's house. My blinker was going out. I said, Landon, watch this, just play along. So I went to flip my hood up, and I started taking caps off, and I started freaking out. It's like, Evan, we need blinker fluid right now. Give him a 20, and he went to Dodger on Microphone.
That's hilarious.
Classic family.
Alright, on, the 4 that you had for an assignment yesterday, somebody in one of the other classes commented that number 1 was real easy, but then the other ones had fractions. Well, you do them the same way, you just now have to deal with the fraction. So that's why I put these 2 bottom ones on there that have a fraction. So I'm gonna leave this here, and I'm gonna give you a few minutes, and y'all can work with each other, y'all can just try it on your own, but I want you to try to see what you can come up with, and I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not sure, but I'm probably going to use the calculator a little bit, because when I start having to multiply something by a fraction, that's when I'll go there. So if you want to use your calculator, remember you got one on your Chromebook if you don't have one. So give those a try for me, honestly. Same stuff, axis of symmetry, vertex, graph, min or max. Tyler, did you hit turn in on your, how come yours and Zach, did y'all do something different than a private comment? On your bell ringer,
Oh,
Oh,
what
we
did?
marked it as.
Okay. Okay, I didn't know if you found a different way to turn it in, I needed to know about. I know you're using the board, but just a second, I won't get my calculator. Is everybody still okay? Just still working on them? Okay, I just don't wanna let you be flouncing in the water if I can help you. We're gonna go over them, but it's better for you to see what you can do first. We got this one here. You pick any x you want except for -1, because you've already got -1, so any x you want and plug it in to get another point. Plug it into the equation. Mhm. Okay, wherever you are, just push pause for a second. Let's go ahead and look at this one together. That way, if you're completely off track, you won't go on and mess up on the last two. That'd be aggravating, wouldn't it? Think you did them all right and then you messed up on the first one. So, what's my A on this one gonna be? -1, very good. Remember, no number means an understood one, and since it's negative, it's -1. Our B is what? Good. And our C is -1. Now, nobody asked, because y'all obviously didn't need to, but I'll be asked by other people today, what is G of X? Why didn't I just put a Y? What's that mean?
It's just a different way to put them on.
Okay, it actually, when it says some letter of X, usually the most common one is F of X. You've probably seen that before. F of X, G of X, T of X. When it's written like that, that's just called function notation. It means it's a function, and that, as far as we're concerned, graphing this parabola, it doesn't mean anything different than Y, so y'all are good on that. Alright, so we talked about on the one we did together a second ago, always start in standard form with your axis of symmetry. So x is negative b over 2 times a. Now this, you had one like this on your assignment yesterday, but this is the first one like this I've done. The negatives aren't just gonna all cancel out here, are they? This one, a negative divided by negative will make a positive, but then divided by another negative turns it back negative. So our x is gonna be negative 2 divided by 2, negative 1. Okay, so there's your axis of symmetry. Then you're gonna take that and substitute it back in the equation to find your y. You gotta be real careful with your negative now, so I'm gonna have y is equal to that negative that's part of the equation. I'm bringing that down, negative, and then my x is negative 1 minus 2 times negative 1 minus 1. Okay, so what we end up with here, when we square this negative 1, that's a positive 1, but then you gotta make it a negative because of that sign. So this piece is gonna be negative 1. This is gonna be a negative times a negative is a positive, so that'll be plus 2. And then bring down my minus 1. So we've got negative 1 plus 2 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. So our vertex is negative 1, 0. Okay. Is this graph gonna have a minimum or a maximum? It's based on your A. Very good, very good. It's gonna be a maximum because our A is negative, so that means it's gonna open down like a mountain, like right here. So it's gonna be a maximum, and that maximum comes from your y of your vertex. So it's not gonna go any higher than the y-axis, then the x-axis, y equals 0. All right, let me scroll down a little bit, and we'll try to draw the graph. I'm gonna go negative 1, 0. There's where my maximum's gonna be. That's where my dotted line's gonna be. So what we're already envisioning, because this is all the stuff you already know, is this is gonna be like that somewhere, right? Because it's gonna open down, and that's the top of it. So we just need to pick, and this is where Holly was asking, we need to pick another x either over here on this side or over here on this side. Again, since it's not touching 0, 0 would be an easy one to use. So let's look back at the equation and see what happens if we put a 0 in for both of those. What are you left with? Okay, that's gone, that's gone. So the point 0, negative 1 is going to be on this parabola. So I'm going to go over 0 and down 1. Now just a second ago I gave you an idea of what this parabola is supposed to look like. Is this following suit? Yeah? So all I need to do is exactly what Christian was just saying, put that point on the other side, right? So it's here at 0, negative 1. There would be 1, negative 1. No, excuse me. It's here at 0, negative 1. Here would be negative 1, negative 1. So I'm going to move it over here to negative 2, negative 1. And draw my parabola. Okay, now, still looking at that same parabola, let's look at what our calculator does with that. 'Cause a lot of y'all are already there and using them, so let's see that. All right. So I didn't try very hard. I got to be able to make that calculator bigger so y'all can see it better, but I don't know how yet. So I'm going to go, my graphing line is this one, so I'm going to hit y equals, did it not hit it? Oh, maybe I got to turn this off. It's supposed to let me hit it up here. It's not letting me hit it. Well, let's see if I can. This is not convenient, is it? Why? I think this is, now I'm remembering why I got mad at it yesterday. hit 7. There we go. You were smart thinking. So I got y equals, I'm just gonna now type in that equation, negative x squared, the negative is down here on the bottom. Negative, the x is right here next to the green button. Squared, I'll do the rooftop, squared. And then minus 2x, make sure you use the minus, 2x, and it's showing you over there on the right what I'm pushing, in case you can't see it, minus 1. So I've got my equation entered. So now I'm just going to hit the graph button, see right here underneath the screen, hit graph. The same thing we drew on the previous smartboard page, exactly the same, but now that doesn't show me any of those values. Okay, so look where the graph button is, above it in blue it says table. So I can hit second table, and there's all those values. Okay, I know you can't see them very good from there, but this tells me that there's a point at 0, -1. Isn't that one of the ones we chose, 0, -1? I don't know if it'll, let me scroll it. If I scroll up, there was my vertex, -1, 0. Wasn't that what we got for the vertex? Now, here's where you can't just depend completely on the calculator because it doesn't say out beside it, that's the vertex. So you still got to know about the basics of the parabola and how to find all that. But you've got, basically you got everything you need. Now, I bet you, I'll go back to the screen here and put the other 2 equations up there. I bet you're going to finish those 2 pretty fast now, aren't you? No?
Next one. Yeah,
Even with your calculator?
I got like a really big number and I don't know if I should.
Okay, we got just,
Error.
let's, all right. Let's write the next one up there and see what y'all are getting.
I get the -3/4.
That might be it. It might just not be, well, y'all, I don't know.
I might have put something in wrong, I don't know.
Oh, it's still writing white, I guess. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so you tell me, you want to, let's go ahead and let's figure out our axis of symmetry. Because the calculator's, like I said, not going to tell you that exactly. So I want to say x equals negative, what's my b? -4 over 2 times my a is -3/4. Okay, so this negative divided by negative is a positive, but then I'm going to divide it by another negative, so it's going to turn it back negative, so x is going to equal negative. Now this is going to be, let me do some 3/2 on the bottom, so I'm going to be looking to try to figure out what 4 divided by 3/2 is. Now I don't want you to get bogged down with fractions. It irritates me that y'all didn't spend enough time on fractions in elementary school, but I can't go back and undo that. That's where we are. But this is not a very hard thing to figure out. But I don't have time to teach you all about it 2 and fractions. So even though I don't like it, your calculator will do those for you. So what I'm going to do here, dividing by 3/2 is the same as multiplying by 2/3. That gets me 8/3. So my axis of symmetry is -8/3. Now, on your calculator, let's see, I'll get to my normal add, subtract, multiply, divide screen. I thought I hit second. Where's the mode button? There it is, second quit. Alright, what you were typing in to figure that out, what you would be looking at, we had negative, and then I need to make a fraction come up on here, so it's alpha y equals, and pick that first one, that's your fraction menu. See how it's got the fraction? So then my B was -4, so up there I'm gonna hit -4. And I'm gonna move my cursor down to the bottom. 2, and I'm gonna write it just like I did on the board with the parentheses, 2 parentheses, negative, and I gotta get another fraction again. 3/4. And I'm gonna move my cursor and close that parentheses. I'm gonna move my cursor and hit enter. So if we struggle with the fractions, luckily there the calculator got the same thing I did, -8/3. Alright, smartboard, and there we go. So -8/3, I forgot, oh, I wrote the negative right there, didn't write it down there. Now, you gotta, whoops, marker, you gotta plug -8/3 back in for those x's. And that's where it can become tedious with the fractions. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my calculator. Now I'm just going to type it in as the equation reads. So, excuse me, I got my negative. I'm still in the, hold on, I gotta go back to smartboard and pick the pointer again. It makes me do that. That's why alright, negative. Well, not this time. Worked last time. Let's erase that. Let's pick mouse. Negative, there we go. And then it was 3/4, so I gotta have a fraction, so where's my mouse? There it is. Alpha y equals 1, 3, this takes fours, and then I'm gonna multiply that by our x, which was -8/3. So I gotta hit the negative again, the fraction again, 8/3, move it over, close that parentheses, and that x was squared, wasn't it? So I gotta put a squared on that. Okay, then next it said minus, just filling in the equation here, minus 4x, and my x is negative fraction 1/8. And then the last part of the equation said -1. Where's my, there it is, -1. So all this is telling me, all of this calculator work is doing, is I'm finding the min or the max, right? The height of the vertex. So I'll hit enter now. And it is at 13/3, is that what that says? Alright, so back to my smartboard. -8/3, 13/3 is your vertex. So that becomes, this is when counting is gonna be hard to graph. We need a little bit of knowledge, I'm gonna estimate about my fractions here. -8/3, I know that means I'm gonna move left. See, that would be 2 2/3. 6, 7, 8, yeah. So I'm gonna go left almost 3. Left 2 2/3. There's my dotted line. So I just estimated on that. And then 13/3, that's 4 1/3. So from there I'm gonna go up just a little bit more than 4. So I'm getting an estimate on that. There's 4, there's 5, so up just a little bit more than 4. And there's your vertex. Now our A was negative, so this is gonna open down. So now we need to pick another point. Since we've had all the hard fractions, let's take the easy way and pick 0. Because if we plug a 0 in, we're just gonna be left with -1, right? So I'm gonna go over 0 and down 1. Now, y'all are not doofuses, so y'all are gonna be able to do this, but this is where the counting trick gets a little hard because of the fraction. But you can, just be careful, because if we put that over here where it's gonna go, we would move 1, 2 1/3, right? So then I'm gonna move, then I'm gonna move another third, 1, 2. Now, if we, and we've got still time, if we typed that into our calculator, the whole equation graph, the only thing that would have been difficult to find for sure is the vertex. Sometimes common sense, you can like look above it and below it and see that it's in the middle, and vertex is in the middle, but sometimes it's hard to see. So that would be really the only thing we have to know how to find, because when we type that in here, let me clear the old one out, it's gonna give you the table of points, so you can use any points you want. So if y'all need the practice, go ahead and practice doing it again. Where's my, I can't find where my mouse is.
-4, 3, -2, 4, and 0, -1.
Those are the whole numbers you found to use, good. -3 fourths x squared minus 4. I just got this new calculator thing this summer. It's pretty cool, but I've not practiced with it very much. Okay, so I'm gonna hit graph first, just to make sure my picture on the smartboard looked good. Uh-oh, Houston, we have a problem. Let me go see what I typed wrong. Can't read it from here. Oh, I put a -1 power up there on the X instead of a second. That was dumb. Keep moving. Alright, so I need to delete that. Need to delete that. And I need to insert squared. Oops, it's still got one too many boxes up there. Whoop. Oh, well, I want it going right there. Delete that one. Graph. There we go. Much better, much better. Okay, so then go and look at the table. And this is what Christian was talking about. You know, you can choose whatever point off of there you want, but he was naming the whole number ones. Scroll through there and pick you the good whole number ones, so you don't have to worry about estimating as much. So good stuff on that. Okay? All right, did anybody get the last one? Not yet? Not yet? Want to just do it together on our calculator and call it a day? Does that sound cool? Is that all right? All right, so let me hit y equals, find there, it's hard, that little mouse doesn't show up very good. Clear out that old one. Okay, the third one said 8/5, so second alpha, 8/5 x squared. I pushed the right squared button. What? Mine's messed up. It jumped it down to another line. Come on. There we go. X squared. And then it had -4x. Maybe I'm getting a smidge faster, but I'm still slow. And then it had +5. Okay, so before I hit graph, I know this is going to be a U, so it's going to have a minimum value because my A is a +8/5. So let's hit graph and see what happens. Hey, I was right on that. Okay, so what if my teacher asked for the vertex? Let's go look at our table and see if we can. We know it's right here. I mean, it's in the middle, dummy. So it's like somewhere that looks like somewhere around 1.5 maybe. Just to give me an idea, second graph. Okay, so let me scroll that down to the positives on my X. Okay, when I go over 0, it's up 5. When I go over 1, it's up 2 3/5. So it's still not as high. But then it's getting, see, they're getting higher and higher and higher on that side. What did the picture look, 525? So I'm going to probably this, if I had this on an assignment for you or on a quiz for you, you could get you some points from right here. You could go through that and pick those points and plot it. But I'm gonna need you to still remember your axis of symmetry formula to answer those questions. Does that make sense? Everybody okay on that? Alright, honest to goodness, are we better today than we were Tuesday?
Yes.
Much good. Okay, so what I'm planning tomorrow, and honestly, this is not from an administrator, but there are several of the schools that are already saying they're gonna close tomorrow. So I don't know, it depends on the flooding. We've never had, they're like, why are we getting out because of the rain? We've never, it's actually going to be a tropical storm in Arkansas. We've never had that before.
Only in 2020.
I know, it happens in 2020.
Another
So,
one, disaster bingo.
so,
Didn't, Hurricane Katrina?
I don't think I think it had
We got
turned to
some
just
rain
a
from it.
storm before it got here. It's still gonna be labeled a tropical storm when this one gets here.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So,
like a-
anyway, what I was gonna say, whether we're here tomorrow or not, I'm gonna have 4 of these for an assignment, just like we did yesterday. I'm gonna have 4 of these for an assignment. So hopefully that'll be some good practice, and then we'll move on to Vertex form on Monday. Okay?